to this in progress. And then I'm going to say share. I'm going to share my sound, and I'm going to go to here, and I'm sharing. I'm going to stay on a slideshow from the beginning. Okay, can everyone hear me? And can you see this device?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. What
Oh,
country?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
What country melts cheese in little shovels? Nobody knows. You'll find out. You'll find
Okay.
out. Ethnic dining in the city and the county. And I'm Dave Schneider. What's in a name? This is going to be something that's important in the restaurant world. I'm going to take Frank and Dottie. They live in Valley Park. And in Valley Park, there's a restaurant serving food from Uzbekistan, a few steps away from a restaurant serving food from Mexico. So let's say Frank says to his wife, let's go out for dinner. And you would expect Dottie to say, how about Mexican food or Uzbeki food? But, okay, hey, Dennis.
Hello.
But Dottie would never say this. Dottie would never say this because, okay, I think I'm going to have to mute. I'm going to have to mute you guys.
Okay.
Let's go. How do I mute participants? Mute all. Okay. All right. So, from muted, and what Dottie would say is, how about Mexican food? Because she doesn't know there's an Uzbeki restaurant in Valley Park. Valley Park has only 6,000 people. And why doesn't she know this? This is the name of the place, Troy. Doesn't even say anything except 4 letters on it. And what these people experienced, the owners of the restaurant actually came from the Republic of Georgia. And they started off saying, we serve Georgian food. And then they got people who said, oh, Georgia, you mean Savannah or do you mean Atlanta? But they really meant, the Republic of Georgia and the Caucasus. And somewhere along the line, they also picked out some Uzbeki food for their restaurant. So they're not going to get people to come in the door if they say Republic of Georgia or Uzbekistan. I mean, even I had to look Uzbekistan up on the map. So they even say they're Mediterranean. Now, Mediterranean is pretty general, but they decided that they're going to say they serve Greek food, which they do, along with the Georgian food and the Uzbeki food. But they're going to tell people they're Greek because they want to get them in the door, even though it is Greece is 3,600 miles away from Uzbekistan. So that's what they're going to do. So they're going to use a generic term like Mediterranean to get people through the door, but they're really from a specific country. And that's one of the obstacles I had trying to figure out when somebody said they were a Caribbean restaurant, what island was that? And these others are all example, Middle Eastern. Was it Syria? Was it Lebanon? You just have to dig a bit if you get a generic term. So what does this little restaurant in Valley Park serve? Sherpa soup, which is from, that is Georgia, Republic of Georgia, and generous pieces of lamb cooked with fragrant spices, and they consider it medicine in the Republic of Georgia. You get energy, you recover from a hangover, and they can cure cold and flu symptoms if you eat this soup from the Republic of Georgia. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was from Uzbekistan. Here's their menu item from Georgia, khachapuri, and okay, got Truder there, got the wrong thing. Canoe-shaped bread with cheese in the middle and an egg cracked on top. So this is from Georgia, and that looks pretty interesting. But when you go into the restaurant, the menu will have 90% Greek food because that's what's familiar Well, let's start looking at other countries. We'll go to Great Britain, start with Wales, and look at lamb burgers. Why would we look at lamb burgers in Wales? Because sheep farming is a big deal in Wales, and their traditional meat is lamb or mutton. We don't like to use the word mutton in the United States, but they talk about lamb. So if you want a lamb burger, you go to Dressel's Public House in the central West End. Scotland, one of my favorite countries, and an interesting food they have is the Scotch egg. And there's Scotland. And here is the Scottish restaurants that just closed this fall. The Scottish Arms, rest in peace. So if you want a traditional Scotch egg, you can't go to the Scottish Arms. And that's, you see a hard-boiled egg wrapped in sausage meat, breaded and fried. But you can get these at an Indian restaurant called Bay Leaf. They call them Hindustani Scotch eggs. Or in a restaurant that isn't ethnic at all, Shadi's Tavern, and they call it tavern eggs. So you won't be at a loss. Again, you're going to get this 18-page book or booklet or whatever that will tell you about these restaurants and their names. We go to England, and an English dish created in England is chicken tikka masala, which you would think comes from the country of India. However, there's England, and this was created in England. Chicken chunks in a spice sauce, and it's creamy, it's orange colored. And the rumor is created in the 1970s by an Indian chef near London who used Campbell's tomato soup. Well, that's sort of the urban legend, but what we do know, it was created by an Indian chef near London who hinted that he used Campbell's soup just to get attention. And here is what it looks like. And they have a version of this vegetarian chickpea tikka masala, and you can have this version of this English dish. Here's what it looks like. They're the chickpeas at Ramsay's Kitchen, which is in the Four Seasons Hotel. That's the Mississippi River that you're looking at. And Ramsay is Gordon Ramsay, internationally renowned chef, has restaurants all around the globe, including St. Louis. Yes. And he's been on television. He's had 4 different shows, and you can have his chickpea tikka masala at Seasons Hotel. Other countries in Europe, we'll look at Germany and curry ketchup. Curry ketchup caught my attention because somebody said, favorite thing on the menu in this German restaurant here is the curry ketchup served with fries. And that's what the guy goes to the restaurant. He eats fries with ketchup. That's his favorite thing at this German restaurant, which is the Top House. And the interesting thing to me is curry ketchup. Who introduced ketchup to Germany? The American occupying forces. Who introduced curry to Germany? The British occupying forces in World War II. And they put curry ketchup on currywurst, and the internet says the Germans eat 800 million currywursts every year. Yes, yes. Well, go to Belgium. You may know that Belgium speaks 2 languages, Flemish and French. So this dish from Belgium will have 2 different names, waffle and gaufre. And Belgian waffles are pretty well known. There's Belgium. And you would come to you will get Belgian waffles at the Press Waffle Company, 6 locations in the USA, most of them in Texas, but they've got this one in St. Louis. There's one of their fancy schmancy waffles, and they are at the City Foundry. And you can get fully customized waffles at the City Foundry from Press Waffle Company. Don't confuse Press with Press Pizza Company. Pressed stuffed pizza is on South Jefferson. Okay, here's that device you saw at the beginning with little shovels heating objects and then a grill heating objects on top. And what country is that? It is Switzerland. And what device is that? It is a raclette grill. And there's Switzerland. So you have special cheese. You heat the cheese on paddles. The paddles are put in underneath the grill, and then you scrape the melted cheese on side dishes such as boiled potatoes and pickled onions are popular. So here what you see, that cheese has been melted in a little shovel, and there's your pickles and your potatoes, and that's your raclette meal. And of course, you're going to put little shovels in time after time and make variations on the dish. And this is available in Maplewood at Vom Fass. The owner of this restaurant is from Switzerland. And Vom Fass, however, is not a restaurant. It is a place where you go up with an empty bottle, tap, and pour out the vinegar you want or the cognac you want or the fruit juice you want out of a barrel. This is what Vom Fass is. Von Fass means in German from the tap. And they are not a restaurant. However, they do special dinners. And here are people enjoying a special raclette dinner. You can see in the center of the table, you see the top of the raclette grill, and underneath the grill would be the little shovels, and people are enjoying their raclette dinner. Sweden, think of Swedish meatballs. Can you guess where we have a Swedish restaurant in St. Louis? And yes, you can guess. Here is Sweden, and Swedish meatballs are different from your typical meatball. These are the spices that go into a Swedish meatball. They're smaller. They're served in gravy, not in tomato sauce. They're made with beef and pork, and they are not made with breadcrumbs. They're made with soaked bread. And where do we go to try that? At IKEA, which has a Swedish restaurant, which is pretty large, and then a Swedish bistro, which is a little bistro place, both in the same building. Oh, let's look at some desserts. We're going to go to Hungary for chimney cake. Yes, yes. And there's Hungary. And what are we going to look at? We're going to look at a dessert dating back to the year 1679. And this is cutting dough into a strip, wrapping it around a cone, a metal cone, rolling it in sugar, and roasting it over charcoal. That's going to be a chimney cone, and it's a Hungarian sweet sensation like no other. Yes, and you can get it at a place called Twisted Rolls, and Twisted Rolls is found in Baldwin, Missouri, and in Tampa, Florida. That's right. They've got two locations. And here is someone who is having fun with this chimney cake. Remember, it's a strip that's been wrapped around the cone, yes, and then it's baked. And here she is unrolling it. But here's what you would get served if you go to Baldwin and order one of their twisted rolls, one of their chimney cakes. Thailand, speaking of rolling, they roll ice cream, and Thailand is here. And they also call it stir-fried ice cream. And stir-fry, as you know, you fry things over heat, but for rolled ice cream, you create this over a very cold surface. So let's look at somebody making some rolled ice cream.
Soft serve almond ice cream, which is the ice plate. Temperatures are getting colder and colder every second. So what you do first is smash everything, the big chunks in there to make it into small pieces, so make it easier to roll them up later on. Roughly 40 seconds of mixings and like stir frying, let's say. It has another name called stir fry ice cream. That's what it comes from. Pretty much, you're trying to stir fry everything in there. And then everything has to be done, all the smash and all the stir fry has to be done in 40 seconds. And that's where you lay it out, wait for like a good couple seconds to it froze. And then that's where you start rolling it to make it into the rolls.
So there's the rolled ice cream. And that surface you saw, that guy was I believe, actually at the West County Mall. Liquid nitrogen keeps the surface cold. And liquid nitrogen has been used to make ice cream since the 1800s, actually. So I didn't even know liquid nitrogen was around back then, but it was. And this is liquid nitrogen using to deal with some skin problems. Well, we go to the Philippines for Halo Halo. Philippines are over here. And we're first going to look at this purple yam. And this purple yam is the hot yam in the Pacific area these days. And it's called ube, the purple sweet potato. And they have ice cream in the Philippines because we had them as a colony, and we built an ice plant, introduced ice to Manila, and therefore ice cream has been around for a while in the Philippines. So Halo Halo is like an icy tutti frutti, got a lot of components to it. So you have chickpeas and beans, palm seeds, tapioca, shaved ice, and then you've got evaporated milk, and you got a scoop of ube ice cream. All of this in one dessert. So here you see the large goblet. Down at the bottom is where the kidney beans are, sort of at the bottom. Then you have all this ice, and then sitting on top of the ice is a scoop of ube ice cream, nice and purple because the sweet potato is purple. And here's where you would go, Kain Tao, which is a Philippine restaurant near Union Station, so to speak, not too far from Union Station. And if you decide you want to go, you have to be careful about the address, because the restaurant, the building that it's in, faces Locust Street, but the door to Kain Tao is on Beaumont Street. So here's the building, and the door is on Beaumont Street there. And it's very good reviews, Kain Tao. Well, go to Portugal, pastéis de nata, and there's Portugal, and there are custard tarts, creating food memories for American tourists. Talk to any American who has visited Portugal, and at some point they will talk about custard tarts. Because not only are custard tarts wonderful, they are extremely popular. And in fact, if you see a line of people waiting outside a building, waiting outside some kind of public place, they are waiting for these custard tarts. Here we have one place here, and here we go again. Those are Portuguese people waiting for their custard tarts, but you don't have to go to Portugal. You can go to Maryland Heights Foundry Bakery. Again, this is all going to be on a list. Let's name the Foundry Bakery. Well, some places you can go and you can cook, they will cook your meal, or you can cook your meal at your table. In South Korea, they have the grills right in the middle of the table. There's South Korea. And here you see the grill in the center, and you have all the little items that you will grill. The restaurant does not grill them. You will grill. Here's somebody grilling some meat there at the South Korean restaurant. And here's some other items being cooked in the center of your table. So obviously, you're also going to be eating communally, because you'll have other people around this grill. And hopefully they'll be your friends, and you can all agree on what you want cooked. Now in Taiwan, they have a version of this called shabu shabu. And shabu shabu is a little different in that instead of the items coming individually, they come all at once. There we go. All right. And sorry, shabu shabu, you do put in there, you do put it in the pot and boil it yourself. Okay. You're dining communally. Here's a shabu shabu, which is a Taiwanese shabu shabu restaurant in St. Louis. Hot pot, which is Chinese. Okay. This is where, sorry, it's already loaded and you just have it cooked at your table. Shabu shabu, you put the items into the broth to cook it in the broth. So this is brought to your table. You can see that it's kept warm at your table, and that is the hot pot. And you can get a hot pot at Umami Seasons in the Del Mar Loop. If you're not familiar with the word umami, it is now considered one of the 5 major tastes of food: sweet, sour, salty, and bitter, plus umami, delicious, savory taste. And it deepens flavor. There's a deep flavor there. And that's at the Umami Seasons, is in the Del Mar Loop. Well, think things cooked at your table. How about cheese being flamed at your table in a Greek restaurant? There we go, saganaki, and it'll be grilled. It will be flamed at your table as when it's served to you, and probably everybody in the restaurant will go opa, and that would be in a Greek restaurant. But nobody in Greece does this. This saganaki flamed uh, appetizer is a Chicago tradition. The Chicago tradition, so it's not Greek. You have Asian cuisine. Now, the name of this autonomous region may not ring a bell with you, but you may have heard of the problems people have there. There are 36 million Muslims in this part of China, which is the very western part of China. And the Chinese government does not treat them well. There's a lot of human rights violations um, and detention camps and so forth going on. So you'd not be surprised that some of these people have left China and moved to St. Louis, where they would be persecuted. Okay. And their dish would be beef polo, and it's the king of the table. Polo is king of the table. So they usually serve it at weddings. We're getting it at a restaurant here. Braised rice with chopped beef, raisins, carrots, onions, and cumin. And it would be the Afandi kitchen, Uyghur cuisine. That's the tribal name there. And that's in Chesterfield. Vietnam, Mun Chai Ya, and that translates to mock duck. And I put it in here because I'm waiting for the Vietnamese restaurants to discover this. Up in Minnesota, a lot of Vietnamese restaurants use this mock duck because it's vegetarian. There is Vietnam. And you look at this. This is a can. This is fake duck, but look at the skin. The skin with little bumps. And if when you eat it, it shreds just as if it were meat, just as if it were meat. Here's a look in the top of the can, but it hasn't shown up here. But maybe it will in the future. You can buy this in an international grocery store and try it yourself. Vegetarian. And I was actually in a restaurant with a woman whose husband is a duck hunter. This is up in Minnesota. She tried the mock duck and she said it tastes just like real duck. So somebody may discover it. But let's look at a Vietnam institution or combined for France, combined Vietnam and France. You get banh mi and you get crusty bread, which has pate, mayo, suspicious ham, pickled vegetable, green onion, and fresh chilies. And here is your sandwich, a banh mi sandwich. And if you want one, go to Paris Banh Mi, the cafe bakery. Yes, yes, they name it. But while you're there having your sandwich, you will probably just drift over to the cake area at Paris Banh Mi. Well, we have North Korean food here in St. Louis. This soup, which I'm not going to pronounce, there's North Korea. This soup has ice in it. It has ice in it. It is chicken noodle soup with ice in it. Yes, there we go. That's the soup from North Korea, obviously served in the summertime in Korea. There's ice, there's ice, there's ice. Yep, yep. And the noodles are very chewy. And people in North Korea, they like to slurp their noodles. Yes, so it can be very noisy if you're in a North Korean restaurant and everybody's from North Korea, they're going to slurp their noodle soup. And that restaurant is in Clayton, Ginza. India. Well, India's got a lot of different foods to choose from. So I talked to my friend Venkatesh, and what's his favorite dish to order at an Indian restaurant? And he said biryani. And biryani, what is it? You can see a picture of it there. And it is usually made with basmati rice. There are a number of variations. And you've got vegetables, seasoned rice, tender meat like chicken thigh or drumsticks. But what is a little different about it is that it's cooked by this slow cooking technique where you put the rice in raw and the meat in the heavy pot and cook it in a pot. So that makes the biryani different. Well, where would Venkatesh go to have biryani? He would go to Anis Hyderabad house. That would be his favorite place. Let's visit Latin America. Peru, not Coca-Cola, but Inca Cola. Aha, there's Peru. There's a can of Inca Cola, the golden cola, created by a British immigrant, a guy who moved to Peru in 1935. He created Inca Cola. Yes, and it's a fruity flavor. Lemon verbena is the main ingredient. You're probably not familiar with the taste of lemon verbena, but Americans who have tried this drink think it tastes like bubble gum or cream soda. And actually, if you buy an Inca Cola outside of Peru, it would be actually a Coca-Cola product, but inside Peru, it is a Peruvian product. Yes. Right near Peru is Ecuador, and we have Ecuadorian ceviche. Why is the ceviche special in Ecuador? Because there are lots of countries that have ceviche, but only Ecuador's does something different with it. And here is a restaurant. It's a Latin American restaurant, Ecuador plus Uruguay, which you may notice or know your map. They're nowhere near each other, but I figure the owner, the owners, the married couple, one person is from Uruguay and the other person is from Ecuador. So Ecuadorian ceviche has cooked shrimp in it. Aha. It's got more liquid than other ceviche, and you eat it with popcorn. Now, ceviche, normally, the cooking is a process. The shrimp is not cooked by heat. It is cooked by reaction to citric acid, which is usually provided by lemons or oranges or so forth. But the Ecuadorians cook their shrimp. And here we have the little shrimp there, and that's from the menu. It's cooked. And the popcorn, there's the popcorn, goes with your ceviche and Ecuador. Well, let's go to the other half of the couple that own this restaurant. Go to Uruguay, alfajores, which are dulce de leche cookies. Yes, and there is Uruguay way down there. Again, same restaurant. And these are cookies that are shortbread sandwiched together with dulce de leche, which is a sweet paste, And there you can see the dulce de leche, and looks really nice. Yes. Oh, head over to the Western Mediterranean in Italy. And Italy is home of the frittata, and that's one of my favorite breakfast things. Um, there's Italy, of course, and you um, whisk together eggs, basically as if you were making an omelet, and then you cook it in an iron pan, but you don't flip it. You put the pan in the oven, and the broiler will finish it from the top. So that's the difference between that and an omelet. And here's the iron pan that has been uh, put through the process there. And if you want a frittata, go to Cafe Piazza, which is across the street from Gus's Pretzels, and you will have a grand time waiting for your meal to be served to you by looking at the ceiling. This is an entirely spray painted history of or famous people in St. Louis and famous events in St. Louis, all on the ceiling of Cafe Piazza. The artist, the spray paint artist, is from Iowa. He's actually done the uh, let's see, all sorts of things with spray paint up in Iowa. And here he's come to Cafe Piazza, and there's another view of the restaurant with that wonderful ceiling. And if that weren't enough entertainment for you, you can finish your meal and head to the other half of the restaurant, which is a little um, little machine room here. Okay. Also from Italy, I hadn't heard of this before, but panzerato is dough that you fill with cheese, tomatoes, olives, and fry. So this is like the ingredients for a pizza, but it's fried. And you go here to Zanti's Deli, which is in Sappington, and there it is. That doesn't look very appetizing, but let's hear what somebody said about this. His wife ordered it. She took the first bite. She closed her eyes and smiled. So this guy, her husband, said it had to be good. He tried a bite, and it was delicious. It wasn't just good, it was delicious. So that's panzerato, and that comes from the hometown of the guy who owns the restaurant. Oh, Spain, pasta con tomate, stale bread and tomato. Well, this doesn't sound like a good introduction, but I heard about this from a friend who grew up in Barcelona. And whenever he talked about pan con tomate, he would go into a state of ecstasy. It was such a wonderful dish, such a wonderful dish. So let's see what it's like and where we can try it. So we're going to have 4 food writers talk about pan con tomate, stale bread and tomato. Okay, this first writer says their first tried it first in Ibiza, and one of the most surprisingly delicious things you can do with a tomato. This is a food writer. This is a food writer. And here's one of her books, A Good Appetite. There's another food writer. She was at home, at her father's home, and she had a friend. They had a friend come from Barcelona, and the friend made pan con tomate. And this food writer was amazed at how much flavor can be generated simply by rubbing garlic and tomato onto a piece of crusty bread. Okay, so easy. Just rub it on the crusty bread. Here's another food writer who actually made it on a Food Network show. She made pan con tomate because it made her fall in love with Spain. Tomato on stale bread made her fall in love with Spain. And that's what it looks like. It doesn't looks not fascinating, but, and here's the fourth food writer. It's basically trying it. You will ask yourself why you haven't made it for every breakfast of your life. That's a food writer speaking. Okay, where do we go? We go to Idle Wolf, and that is a restaurant inside a museum, inside a hotel, inside a former YMCA, right next to the Central Library. And here is the menu, and it's an appetizer. So there's the pan con tomate, Amish tomato, garlic, grilled Union loafer toast, and you can add cheese, ham, and anchovies. But look above that. This is actually, this is a fairly expensive restaurant, and one of their appetizers is tin sardines, sardines that were in a can, which to you and me is we just walk right by the tin sardines and Schnucks don't buy any, but big deal in Spain and in Portugal. And canned fish is just a big deal. Barmoro, which is a Spanish and Portuguese restaurant in Clayton, and here's somebody saying the canned fish, just looking at the selection makes you think you're in Barcelona, just looking at it. And here is a store, 2 stories of canned sardines and canned fish. And that store is in Times Square, New York. So it's a big deal over there, not terribly big deal, at least with me. Some seafood, Portugal, I mentioned that, bacalhau. And bacalhau is dried and salted codfish. And because the Portuguese were very big into sailing around the world and that sort of stuff, salted codfish kept nicely and became popular. And it sounds not so interesting, but once you soak it and cook it, it's actually quite nice, quite nice. So here's what it looks like. And you can get it at Guido's Pizzeria y Tapas on the hill. Well, seafood, takoyaki in Japan. And this is from Osaka. And it's a flour batter with octopus, the minced or diced octopus, and a few other things in there. And looks like this in little balls like that, takoyaki. And you can get it in at least 7 places in St. Louis. There we go. But notice one of these places is Izakaya Ren, and Izakaya has a meaning. The Japanese work very hard, very long days, and actually when they get off work, they don't want to commute back home. They want to have something to eat right away. Not something big, something just to help their appetite before they go home and have their dinner. So izakaya is where you go and just have snacks. And the Izakaya Ren is in Valley Park, and they say their izakaya, their snack list isn't that long, but so you can get a regular Japanese meal and sushi there, but they call it izakaya. Well, if you'd like more than one course to your meal, go to a French restaurant. When I would visit France, I would always look on the menu for the prix fixe, and there is France. And this is a meal where you have usually 3 courses, appetizer, entree, and dessert, served for a set price, which saves you money. Rather than ordering the appetizer, the entree, and the dessert separately, you just order the meal. you order the meal. And sometimes you'll be able to choose options within those categories. Other times the chef has determined what he wants to cook that day. And then you um, just decide whether you want that or not. And here in St. Louis, our French restaurants, some of them do have prefix, but because it changes all the time, you won't see that on their website. You have to go to the restaurant and it'll be in a menu, or probably in addition, separate sheet of paper from the menu. Here is one of our French restaurants, Brasserie by Niche. Well, multi-course, the Japanese really like multi-course. It's called omakase. There's Japan. And this is the chef makes the decisions. He will ask some questions. For example, I am a vegetarian, so but I do eat fish, and the person making the omakase will take that into effect in choosing what to cook. So the chef decides, and there'll be a parade of dishes. Yes, yes. Depending what the chef wants to cook and what is in the market at this time. Here the staff at Nobu's. Nobu's has an omakase, course number one, all sorts of little traditional items presented, just a sort of little display to get you going. Course number two will be a soup with seasonal ingredients. Course number three of the omakase, raw fish. This is going to be whatever the chef again wants to cook or make. Then course number four, tempura with fish and whatever, and condiments. Yes, that's course number four. Course number five, you ready for sushi? Which could be sushi on rice. It also can be rolls in traditional style. Course number five. Oh, finally, course number six, seasonal dessert offerings. Yes, yes, omakase. Well, we'll go to East Africa, Eritrea. Injera is we're going to call it a multi-course meal. And Ethiopia and Eritrea are right next to each other, and they eat the same food. And there they are, Ethiopia in pink and Eritrea in orange. And they have a bread called injera, and it's made from teff, which kind of looks like a grass, and make it a batter and fry it into a giant circular pancake. It's soft and it's spongy, slightly sour, lightly sour, so you know what you're eating. And there's the teff. That's what it looks like. Very nutritious and been used for thousands of years. Very nutritious. So here you have a meal at an Eritrean or an Ethiopian restaurant, and you would see various servings, not a full meal, but various servings of these dishes. There's collard greens and chickens and lentils and stuff. And you would eat these dishes, these foods with injera. You would take this individual round one and you would rip off a piece and then pick up the food with your injera. And you would pick them all off until they're all gone. But notice they're all sitting on this injera bread. Your plate is going to be edible. And not only is it edible, but people consider it the best because, say, for example, these collard greens, their flavor has soaked into the injera plate, and it's considered better than just collard greens by themselves. And here is an Eritrean restaurant in University City. Brazil, feijoada, also similar, that you have a main part and then traditional side things that go with it. And The main part is this stew with beans and meat, and it's slow cooked, and you serve it with rice, greens, orange slices, and farofa, which is toasted cassava flour. And you would go to Yemanja, Brazil. Don't ask me why there's a mermaid on their logo, but here are the ingredients. There's the beans, there's the meat, in this case in the form of sausages. Here's bacon, there's the oranges, and here is it cooked with in the pot now. So there's your main dish and your sides that you will go with it. And up there in the corner is the farofa. And farofa is toasted cassava flour. I used to live in West Africa, and cassava was popular and quite cheap. And one reason why it was popular is because the plant is drought resistant. Cassava will grow even though there is drought. And that, of course, means it's productive. It's productive. Now, feijoada, you saw the big bean and meat pot, and the urban legend or the theory is that Brazilian slaves created this stew with using scraps that the slave owners did not want: pig's feet, pig's tail, pig's ears. Well, there's a problem with this theory, is that pig's feet, tail, and ears are delicacies. Delicacies, yes. You can go to a supermarket in St. Louis and buy pork ears, yes. You can buy pork tails, which are cured and served in brine, and you can buy pig's feet, which are packed in vinegar. They're pickled pig's feet. And actually, my father constantly had a container of pickled pig's feet in the refrigerator while I grew up, although I never was tempted to try them. But in any event, those are considered delicacies. So we're going to go to the Caribbean, and we're going to start with Haiti, because speaking of things that are delicacies that most people ignore is oxtail. I'm now a vegetarian, but when I was a meat eater, I thought oxtails were wonderful. So there's Haiti. And they serve their oxtail with pickles, which is a slaw, tart enough to make your jaws clench, similar to the chow chow that you get in the southern United States. And oxtail it's a very very flavorful meat, which you have to pick out of the bone here, the tailbone. But I really liked it. Here's the pickles, and you can compare it to chow chow from the South. And where do you go? Go to My Marie restaurant, which boldly says Haitian cuisine. Besides the generic Caribbean and Creole, they actually say what country they're from: Haiti. Jamaica, oh, ackee and saltfish. There's Jamaica. What saltfish? That's the bacalhau. You saw that in Portugal, and it's been picked up in other countries as well. Jamaica, this is a popular dish, ackee and bacalhau. Now here's your ackee. Ackee is a fruit, and what you see, those black little dots or globes there, are the seeds of the ackee. And those seeds, you can make like necklaces or just do things, crafts with them. But that's the ackee, and we're going to hear about ackee about Linstead Market.
Carry me ackee, go Linstead Market, not a quart he would sell. Carry me aki goal instead, market not a quarty would sell. Oh Lord, what a night, not a bite. What a Saturday night. Lord, what a night, not a bite. What a Saturday night. Everybody come and feel up, not a quarty would sell. Everybody come feel up, not a quarty would sell. Oh Lord, what a night, not a bite. What a Saturday night. Lord, what a night, not a bite. What a Saturday night.
All right, so there is the aki down here at the bottom. There's some plantain and a few little bread things up there. And if you want to try it, go to Caribbean Delight, and there it is on their menu. All right, Honduras, Zambos Preparado. Well, Zambos is a brand name. It's a brand name of plantain chips in a bag. The bag, however, is tinfoil. It's a tinfoil bag. And the Zambos, they make dishes here. Here's a Wendy's ad from Honduras, Zambos Preparados. It's in this container. And you have the plantain chips and then the other food that goes with it. But you may get lucky in St. Louis and get your meal served to you in the tinfoil bag. So this is a restaurant in Maryland Heights, and that is your lunch inside that bag. Not just that Honduran restaurant, but Sueno Latino on Cherokee Street, same deal there. There's the plant chips in there, and there's your lunch in the bag. Well, Mexico, go to a Mexican restaurant. How can you make your server smile? There's a big smile. Of course, in Mexico, you order horchata, and your server will smile because that tells that server that you know Mexican food. It's not a food, it's a drink. It's a rice-based drink. We serve it over ice, and you just have a connection with your server because you ordered that. And that was at Caritas. Here we have mi ranchito. You see them again. It's in a goblet, a heavy glass goblet. And where did this photo come from? Gene Carnahan. Senator Gene Carnahan took this photo of horchata. Yes, yes. Now, you have a Mexican staff. They're cooking in the kitchen. They're serving. They get thirsty. What does the chef drink? He drinks, or she drinks, agua de Jamaica, which is sweetened hibiscus tea. And if you are lucky, you're in a restaurant which will give you a glass of what the chef is drinking. This works better in Mexico than in St. Louis, but there are places in St. Louis that have given me agua de Jamaica. Venezuela, the arepa is one of their favorite foods. Here we are in the amazing arepa bar here. And it's cornmeal cakes. They stuff it with filling, all kinds of filling. And here are the cakes on the grill. And here are the cakes that are filled. The amazing arepa bar is downtown. The Western Mediterranean. Let's go to Tunisia, shakshuka. Yes, there's Tunisia. And it's poached eggs in a rich and spicy tomato sauce. And they eat it basically for every meal. It's not just for breakfast, not just for breakfast. So there is shakshuka, photographed from a restaurant called The Egg. And The Egg has 2 locations here in St. Louis. So here is one location with this wonderful subway tile that they preserved. And here is the owner, Malik. And what's interesting about Malik, he's from Tunisia, and he is indigenous. He is an indigenous Tunisian. Before the Arabs came, Tunisia had all these people who were, uh, we would call them Berber, and they, the Arabs took over. But this guy is indigenous, so uh, it's kind of interesting that he is doing nicely here in St. Louis. Turkey, I just had to throw this in, the Esna Lokantazi. Um, if you go to Turkey, you should really go to one of these places. And they will call, this one's called itself fast food. A lot of them call themselves fast food. These are high class buffets, or really, well, middle class buffets, but well worth going to. If you're in Turkey, we don't have them in Turkish restaurants here in St. Louis. We have menus in St. Louis. So if you go to these Turkish restaurants, you will be given a menu. It won't be a buffet. Albania, I was surprised. Yes, we have an Albanian restaurant. There's Albania, Byrek, filo pastry, flaky, and fill it with who knows what, all sorts of things that you can put inside a Byrek. And here is a close-up of a slice of that taken out of a big Byrek pie, but you can also get the little Byreks individually. That restaurant is in, it's near the River de Pear. Cevapi, Bosnia, Cevapi. Of course, you know we're going to have a lot of Bosnian restaurants, or we have a lot of Bosnian restaurants, and Cevapi is the national dish of Bosnia. So whichever one of these restaurants you go to, they will have cevapi. And cevapi is a skinless sausage made from minced meat, and it's usually grilled, and it's served in groups of, you look at this picture, and I don't have to count. I know how many sausages are there. There are 10 sausages because there's only serve these in groups of 5 to 10. Okay, and here it's served on a piece of bread. This is Bosnian bread called Solman bread, and that will have 10 as well. Okay, well, how does the name of a restaurant affect who goes to the restaurant? If you say you are Iranian, a lot of people will avoid your restaurant. If you say you're Persian, you will pull in everybody because it's an exotic word. And we have a bunch of Iranian restaurants, but they like to be called Persian restaurants. So Gourmet Sabzi, this goes back a long time, a long time. Here are the owners of Taste of Persia, and 5,000 years, made with dried limes, herbs, spinach, simmered in a pot with beef or lamb, never pork, because Iranians are Muslim, and you've got some kidney beans in there. All right, and that's what it looks like, gourmet sabzi. But dried limes are the key here. Dried limes are very pivotal in Iranian cooking. It's a staple. You boil the lime whole, and then you let it dry until it's rock hard, and they transform whatever you're putting the dried lime in, and you put in soups and stews and pierce them a bit, and then they rehydrate and they add a lot of flavor to the stew. West Africa, going to go to Nigeria. There's Nigeria, and here is where I used to live. And here is my street. This is not my house. This is, if this were in New Orleans, it'd be called the House of the Rising Sun, down the street from me. Here is my house. This is my cook. I was a teacher. Nigeria pays its teachers very well, and I had a guy who cooked. Now, down the street from me was a guy who made suya. He made it and he sold it It's a kebab with peanut-based seasoning and makes a nice sandwich. But here, notice that this is cooked vertically. It's cooked vertically. This is this suya would be cooked in a ring. And I'm not so sure about this guy, but the guy down the street from me, that top piece would be very fatty. And as it cooked, the fat would rush down and flavor the lower pieces of the kebab. And here the suya is served actually in a bun, and there's that Levels Nigerian Cuisine, which is on Washington Avenue. Also, you can go to Levels and get egusi soup with fufu. All right. Egusi are seeds of cucurbitaceous plants. They are very protein rich, and gourds, melons, and squash. You dry them and you ground them and you make the egusi soup. Now, egusi soup is the West African word. You would call it egusi stew because it's not soupy. It is actually stew. And there you see the egusi soup and the fufu. And this is the yam, which is the basis of the fufu. Very solid. It's like almost like a log. So you got to boil it. Obviously, take off the skin and then boil it and then pound it. Well, those aren't people that live down the street from me in Nigeria. I'm not sure where they are, but in any event, they have a little mortar, a little pestle, and my neighborhood had big ones. So people would pound, and as they lift up the mortar, they would go click. So you pound, click, pound, and that was the sound of dinner being prepared at the end of the afternoon on my street. And here's what the dish looks like. There's the fufu, and there's the egusi soup. In Nigeria, they have their own Guinness brewery, and Guinness there is made with sorghum, and that makes it more alcoholic than the Irish Guinness, which is only 4.2% alcohol. But you can get this at Levels if you want to try Nigerian Guinness. Ghana, very close to Nigeria, and big war going on, the war of Jollof. Who has the best Jollof? Jollof is a very popular dish. It's a rice dish, and all the ingredients are cooked in the same pot. And you'll find, actually, we even have the House of Jollof. It's a nice dish. We're going to go to the Pacific Ocean, and we actually have a restaurant that serves food from Guam. Yes. And Guam is in the Mariana Islands. And people in Guam don't call themselves Guamians, they call themselves Chamorros. And their cuisine, what they eat, the Spanish have been there, the Japanese have been there, Filipinos and Americans have influenced them. And they come to the Tower Grove Market, and you can get a Chamorro breakfast wrap. And I'm not sure what the ingredients are, but that would be the traditional one. You may notice they also will do an ube pancake with that purple sweet potato. Well, we're going to finish up in Hawaii, and Hawaii is where you go to eat spam. Spam. Yes, very popular in Hawaii. So let's look at spam musubi. And here is Hawaii, and that's spam musubi. And it is the perfect handheld snack. That's what they say in Hawaii, perfect handheld snack. And you have seasoned rice, a slice of Spam. It's got teriyaki on it and an egg, all wrapped up in a sheet of nori, which is seaweed. Well, where would you go? Go to Buzz's Hawaiian Grill for spam musubi. And here's somebody talking about, actually, a Hawaiian friend of mine. Buzz is usually at the restaurant and ready for a chat about Hawaii. So you can get your spam musubi and your discussion about Hawaii if you wish. And then if you want a cocktail, you can just go through a special door to the tavern next door. We're going to finish with dessert, mochi donut. They are always circular, 8 small balls in a circle, easy to pull apart, made with tapioca flour or glutinous rice flour. And now that is actually kind of sweeping Hawaii at the moment, becoming more and more popular. So here we have three different mochi donut shops in West County. Three of them. Mochi Nut, Mochiatsu, and Mochi Donut, all 3 in West County. So should have no problem finding them, but watch out for the times when these places are open. They're kind of erratic. So this is Ethnic Dining in St. Louis City and St. Louis County. I'm Doug Schneider, and St. Louis restaurants are as international as St. Louis itself. Yay. Okay. So I'm going to stop share, and I am going to let you unmute yourselves.
I'm hungry, Doug.
Okay, Mitch, you're saying what?
I'm hungry. It was a great presentation.
I should have warned you. Ready.
And I especially enjoyed the tap on the glass every time you changed your country. It was great.
Every time I changed my area, that was actually a fork on a plate.
Oh, a plate.
Yes. Because
we have to try that.
About food, yes, on some china. Okay, but that was just to get you. Go ahead, Eric.
Well, I was going to say, and you'll send out this listing of all these to us.
Yes, 18 pages.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. But remember, it's listed restaurants, and restaurants are very volatile, so they're not always. It's a snapshot at a particular moment.
Right.
Which can change. Okay.
Hey, Doug.
Yes, Dennis.
Hey, I had heard that the spam that became immensely popular in Hawaii during World War II because it was so readily available to the military and the civilian people. It was the most available meat they could, and the cheapest they could send over because of the distance.
Yes,
did you hear that?
Yeah, yes. That is true. That's the actual background of spam from the U.S. troops that were in Hawaii. The other thing, Dennis, is spam doesn't require a refrigerator. You can just stick it on a shelf. Yes. You can buy 6 cans of spam, but you can't buy 6 chicken breasts.
Nope. And it's delicious fried.
Oh yes, frying is a different dimension. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other comments?
Hello, Charles.
Hello. Yeah, I can't see myself, but I can. Can you see this or not? Inca Kola.
Inca Kola. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was in Machu Picchu and recently, and it to say that Inca Kola is popular is an extreme understatement. It is you'll see billboards the size of like 20-story buildings. Inca Kola, it's everywhere, and so it's.
Did you try some?
Hard. Oh yeah. I bought some, and it does taste very much like bubble gum.
Okay.
I bought a 2-liter bottle and the like, and dined on that for several days. Yeah.
Okay.
and also the some of the other things they had that you mentioned from not only Ecuador but also yeah. So yeah, excellent presentation. Excellent presentation.
Yes, it was good, very good.
Yes. And I look forward to seeing the book of restaurants that you're going to be sending us. So
Okay, well, maybe booklet, but anyway,
yeah,
we'll see. You need paper in your printer to print it out.
I
Just keep it
I
on.
know that the oldest daughter is coming in for the Christmas holiday, and she lived in a number of different countries, and it's a big foodie in the local cuisine. So she might be we might be going to some of the restaurants that you talked about while she's here the week. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So,
Very timely. Thank you. Thank you very
all
much.
right. Okay, folks, so I'm going to stop the recording.